Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We have another problem for the SNP and for Humza Yousaf. On top of everything else that's going on, this huge juggernaut that is rolling down that road, growing fatter, faster and more destructive every day, there comes yet another job for him to deal with. This one caused the end of his predecessor. It involves a man who is a prisoner. A man who identifies as a woman is now a transgender prisoner, a man in a woman's jail. But this isn't the one that caused Nicola Sturgeon to fail, to drop out, to give up the job. Not that that was the real reason, not that was the only reason, but it was the matter that sort of cemented it in public knowledge. That was the thing that stuck with most people, was this transgender issue that brought her down. Now, Humza Yousaf has got to deal with one himself. This guy, his name was Peter Lang. He now goes by Paris Green because they never call themselves Mabel or Sandra, do they? They always want some exotic, erotic name to make themselves seem more feminine. Well, he wants the Scottish taxpayer to pay to have the bits cut off and bits inserted so that he will have all the requisite lady bumps. He's currently got all the requisite manly bumps. And yet, this man is in a prison with vulnerable women. But he isn't in for anything nice. He beat another human being to death. He used a rolling pin. This isn't the comedic type standing behind a door with a rolling pin waiting for the husband to roll in drunk kind of situation. He physically attacked another human being and battered him so hard the man died. And then lock him up with women. Whoever made that decision needs to lose their job and needs to lose it immediately. But now he wants you, the Scottish taxpayer, to pay for his operation. Rather than serving his time in a man's prison, which is where he should be, and then coming out and paying for it himself. He says no. He'd feel much better if all his necessary bits were cut off and he could truly become a woman. He can never become a woman. He will only be a man who no longer has a penis. He will still have all the male musculature, the male build, the male bone structure, and the male aggression. And he'll still be locked up with women. Somebody needs to answer for this, and it's going to fall to Humza Yousaf and the SNP. It is their policy that put this man in that prison with women. We're going to take a look at this article and find out why this man thinks that you should pay for him to have his operation. Here goes. So, transgender prisoner held in women's unit at Scottish jail demands a sex change operation funded by UK taxpayers so that he can feel comfortable in the shower. In 2013, Paris Green beat a 45-year-old man to death with a rolling pin. And 10 years later, he said that if he was born a woman, he might not have done it. Oh, only might not have done it then. So if he was born a woman, he would have been a woman who'd have done this. Full of crap, isn't he? And I'm not calling him a her, he's a he. A transgender prisoner serving a life sentence for beating a man to death with a rolling pin has announced he has requested a sex change operation on the NHS. Well, you can't really have a sex. It's not really a sex change. I don't like the term sex change operation because you can't change your sex. But anyway, he hopes to become the first UK prisoner to have full gender reassignment surgery while in jail. Oh, is it an aspiration, is it? Paris Green, let's call him Paul Lang, who is reportedly in the women's unit at HMP Edinburgh, said the procedure would make him feel more comfortable in the shower. Born Peter Lang, Green began taking hormones in 2011, 2 years before he and two accomplices tied up and beat 45-year-old Robert Shankland until he died. Within weeks of being imprisoned in Cornton Vale Women's Prison, Green was moved to the female section of Edinburgh's Sawton Jail after reports he was having casual sex with fellow convicts. And that's the sole reason why he needs to be in prison with men. He'd still have as much sex, but at least he wouldn't be impregnating anybody. Green has long maintained it is his goal to have the full operation and even met a surgeon in March 2020. And this is the thing with these guys. They're all mental. They're all mental. They look, I want to be a woman. I want to be a woman. I want to be a woman, but I still want to have sex with women. Because he's actually a straight man. That's what that is. That is a straight man. And I love the way, if you actually always look, they always do the way, I'm just going to hold my head like this. Just going to hold it like that. So you can't see the big Adam's apple. Doesn't matter what you do, you still got a face like a man. Look at that manly jaw. That is a man, isn't it? Anyway, there's the man he beat to death. However, the pandemic and the doctor's doubts over security of other patients at Brighton's Nuffield Centre, due to the nature of his offence, meant his application was halted. Green, however, has not given up his hopes, and he's told the Daily Record he will continue to push for the surgery, even though a lot of people will say he doesn't deserve it. He said, "I want to feel comfortable in the shower rather than feeling repulsed. Having male genitalia feels wrong." Hang on, no, feels all right to me, mate. Anyway, it's a load of old rubbish, this, isn't it? The news that a criminal like Green is in a woman's unit follows the debacle that saw trans Ara of Women Isla Bryson housed in HMP Cornton Vale earlier this year. Following the Ferrari, the SPS took the decision to halt the movement of all trans prisoners with a history of, physicality against women into the female estate. Any kind of that crime, there should never be a man, physical man, in a woman's prison, even if that man has had the operation, because he's still physically a man, regardless of what he's got below. With at least 8 years left to serve on his life sentence and biological time not on his side, Green says he is in a race against the clock for successful treatment. He continued, "It's a major operation. It takes a long time to be prepared for it and a long time to recover. I have a better chance of making a good recovery if I have it in my 30s rather than in my 40s. Should have thought of that before you ended the life of another human being, you piece of filth. I'd be able to come out of prison with my past completely behind me." No, you can't. You'll always be someone who ended the life of another human being. He says, "I realise it's not just as simple as me wanting the operation and everyone having to help me make it happen. And I understand the security concerns because I was convicted of an awful crime. But that's the past and I'm a danger to no one." Bull. You will always be a danger. You are someone who ended the life of a human being. That's what you are. You will always be that. And you will always be a man, whatever you think. Green is aware that the nature of his sickening crime means he is unlikely to ever receive any sympathy from authorities or the public. Well, he's got that right. In March 2013, Green, Kevin McDonough and Dean Smith invited Mr. Shanklin to a party at a flat in Fife. Once he was inside, the trio tied him up with torn bedsheets and set upon him, punching, kicking and beating with a rolling pin. They also placed a plastic bag over his head and tied a ligature around his neck. And there he is. Look, his manly face. Not a chance, mate. Coroners concluded the cause of Mr. Shanklin's death was either by suffocation or by blunt force injury, sentencing all three of them to life with a minimum term of 18 years in November 13. Judge John Morris had told Green, "It beggars belief you could act towards that way, get towards another human being." To this day, Green himself claims he is also unsure, telling the Record it was inexcusable. "All I can say is I had a really awful childhood and was totally messed up. Ah, bless. Here, never mind. Stay the rest of your life in prison. 18 years. It should be 118 years. You should never be released. Ever. These people should never be released." He said, "I was carrying a lot of anger inside of me, even before I realised I should have been a woman, and it made me more angry." Don't come the cod. You're using this as an excuse. You're trying to build sympathy. Stay in prison. Rot in prison. Rot in prison as a man in a man's prison. That's the only thing that you should have. You should never be let out. Anyone like that should never be let out. And nobody should pander to your delusions. You're a man. Deal with it. Grow up and act what you are. Anyway, there he is. I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to give him any more air or any, certainly no sympathy. And as someone who pays taxes, I demand that my tax money is in no way ever used to pay for him to fulfil his desires. And I also demand he goes into a man's prison. I'll happily pay my taxes for that. Anyway, I'm going to finish there and come up. So Humza needs to be questioned on this, doesn't he? He needs to be asked whether the Scottish taxpayer is willing to pay for this operation. And don't forget that this man is in a woman's prison because of SNP policy. It is their social justice policy that's done this. And who was the Justice Minister? Humza Yousaf. So it is definitely laying at his door. He is the one that pushed for men, in this case very dangerous men, to be locked up with women. What will he do? Will he force this man into a man's prison? Will he follow the trend? Will he listen to what the people want? Or will he just ride roughshod over the wants and desires of the people just to supplicate this one mentally ill, very dangerous prisoner? It's up to Humza. Humza Yousaf has got to make that decision. Let me know what you think. Anyway, I shall end there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please do hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like. Definitely leave a comment, because it'll do the algorithm no harm at all. Let me tell you that. It does that. It's brilliant for the algorithm. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. Don't let these people win. And goodbye.